I poisoned my grandfather's coffee that morning. Not with arsenic, but with the cold truth I'd been choking down for 15 years. He sipped it black. Like always. His liver-spotted hands trembling on the mug as he stared out at the frostbitten cornfields of central Illinois. The ones he'd plowed since Eisenhower was in office. Aubrey? Girl, he wheezed, eyes like chipped flint locking onto mine. If they come for you after I'm gone, you fight dirty. Promise me. That was the hook that snagged me back then.
But now,
15 years later, it was the blade I'd twist. The family had called me the black sheep since I was 16, the slutty little homewrecker who'd supposedly spread her legs for half the high school football team and drained Grandpa's checking account to fund her wild phase.
lies.
All of it, but lies that stuck like gum on a boot sole in a Chicago winter. I'd taken the fall for Uncle Rick's gambling debts, falsified checks, pawned heirlooms. The works because Grandpa begged me to. He's blood. Aubrey. Family protects its own. So I did. Signing confessions that weren't mine. Enduring the whispers in our podunk town of Elmwood, where the grain elevators loomed like judgmental fingers pointing at my trailer park address. Grandma had gone first. A quiet stroke in '09. Leaving Grandpa rattling around their two-story Victorian on Maple Street like a ghost in his own life. The house was paid off. The farm sold off piecemeal to developers chasing that suburban dream. But the real money? Tucked away in bonds and IRAs. $1.2 million strong. The nest egg from a lifetime of grinding through recessions and Reaganomics. Grandpa never trusted banks after the SNL crash.
So it sat.
Growing like a secret tumor. By the time his Parkinson's turned his hands into useless claws, the vulture circled. Aunt Karen, my mother's older sister, the one with the bleached bob and the real estate license that screamed, "I'm better than this town," started visiting more. She'd breeze in with Tupperware casseroles laced with passive-aggressive barbs. "Aubrey, honey, still waitressing at that dive. You know, your mama would be so disappointed. Mama died in a car wreck when I was 10, hydroplaning on black ice outside Peoria. But Karen wielded her memory like a Louisville slugger. Uncle Rick, fresh out of his third stint at county lockup for boosting catalytic converters, slunk in too. All faux contrition and family-first bullshit. He'd aged into a paunchy weasel. His once charming grin, now a leer under a trucker hat advertising some defunct brewery. And then there were the cousins, bratty millennials who'd ghosted us for Austin startups and Brooklyn lofts. Sniffing around now only because LinkedIn whispered estate planning. I was the live-in nurse. Unpaid. Because that's what family meant in Elmwood. I'd quit my job at the diner after Grandpa's diagnosis, moving back into the upstairs bedroom with its peeling wallpaper and the faint scent of mothballs. Nights blurred into sponge baths and morphine drips, me whispering stories of Grandma's rhubarb pies while he mumbled about the war. Korea. Not Vietnam, too old for that meat grinder. He trusted me with the pills, the finances, the notary visits. You're the only one with a spine left, kiddo, he'd say. And I'd nod, ignoring the ache in my chest that felt like betrayal's permanent bruise. The accusation hit like a sucker punch on a Tuesday in October, leaves turning bloody outside the window. Grandpa was down to 90 pounds, skin like crepe paper, hooked to monitors that beeped like accusatory Morse code. Karen stormed in, heels clicking on the linoleum like gunfire, Rick trailing with a manila folder thick as a Bible. We've talked to the lawyers. Aubrey, she spat, not even glancing at the bed where Grandpa dozed. This will, it's coercion. Undue influence on a dying man. We're contesting every cent. I laughed. A sharp bark that echoed off the antiseptic walls. Coercion? You mean like when Rick borrowed the deed to the back 40 and sold it to that strip mall developer without telling anyone? Rick's face purpled. That was business. You little. Shut it. Richard, Karen snapped, her eyes narrowing to slits. Aubrey's always been dramatic. Remember the checks? The lies to protect your sorry ass. She turned to me, venom dripping. We know you've been whispering in his ear, turning him against us. The whole town's talking. Manipulating a dying man for his money? That's low. Even for you. Grandpa stirred then, his voice a gravel whisper. Karen. Get out. But she didn't hear, or wouldn't. The cousins piled in via Zoom from their coastal perches. Pixels of outrage. Aubrey's always been selfish. She drove Mom away. Lies on lies. A family folklore where I was the villain. The girl who'd ruined everything by existing. I didn't fight back that day. I just watched them circle, hyenas in athleisure, as the hospice nurse adjusted the oxygen mask. But inside, the plan uncoiled like a spring-loaded trap. Grandpa had made me promise, no. He'd extracted it like a confession. When they turn, Aubrey, you turn harder. Bury 'em in their own shit. And, oh, I had the shovel ready. That night, after they'd left in a huff, promising lawyers and headlines in the Elmwood Gazette, granddaughter accused of elder manipulation in shocking inheritance feud, I sat by his bed, the will notarized and tucked in my purse. $1.2 million. The house. The vintage Chevy in the garage. All mine. But money wasn't the revenge. It was the key to the vault where I'd locked away the truth. 15 years ago, when I was 16 and wild-eyed from Mama's death, Rick had come to me with tears in his eyes. Aubrey, I fucked up.
Bad.
The bookie's gonna kill me if I don't pay. $50,000 gone. Siphoned from Grandpa's savings for poker nights in backroom bars off I-55. I could have ratted him out, watched him go down for fraud. But Grandpa intervened. Protect him, or we lose the family. So, I forged the notes, played the delinquent teen, took the juvenile rap that derailed my college dreams and branded me unemployable in a town that never forgets. But Rick, he flipped. Years later, when Karen needed a fall guy for her own scam, flipping foreclosures with falsified appraisals, pocketing kickbacks that nearly tanked the local credit union. They pinned it on me again. Anonymous tips to the DA. Aubrey's back at it. I ate the probation, the public shame, while they skated. Deep betrayal, layered like sedimentary rock, each stratum heavier.
Now,
with Grandpa fading, I saw my out. The will wasn't just inheritance. It was indictment. I'd embedded clauses, lawyered up in secret. A shark from Chicago who billed by the hour but promised blood. Contingencies, if contested, affidavits unsealed. Rick's gambling records. Karen's falsified HUD forms. Emails, bank trails, the digital ghosts of their greed. As the first snow dusted the windows, I leaned in close. It's time, Grandpa. His eyes flickered open, a ghost of a smile. Make him pay, girl. And then he was gone. Flatline Symphony. The family summoned for the reading 2 days later in the lawyer's office downtown. A brutalist box of concrete and regret. They filed the contest that afternoon, Karen leading the charge with a press conference outside the courthouse. Microphones like vultures' beaks. My niece preyed on a vulnerable elder. This isn't family, it's predation. The Gazette ate it up. Elmwood heiress accused of scheming for $1.2 million fortune. Social media ignited. Justice for Grandpa trending locally. Armchair detectives dissecting my life like a true crime podcast. I let it burn. Holed up in the house. Packing boxes of memories while the hate mail piled up. Cousin Jenna from Brooklyn DM'd. Karma's a bitch. Aubrey. Hope you rot. But I wasn't rotting. I was rooting out the rot. The hearing started in December. Snow blanketing the town like a shroud. Judge Harlan, a grizzled vet with a limp from Nam, presided over the circuit court, his gavel a thunderclap. Karen took the stand first, all pearl-clutching poise. Aubrey isolated him, fed him lies. He was medicated. Confused, Rick backed her, mumbling about family unity, his eyes darting like a cornered rat. My turn came slow, deliberate. I walked in wearing Grandma's brooch, a silver maple leaf, and faced them down. Your Honor, this isn't about money. It's about secrets. The lawyer slid over the first exhibit, Rick's old casino comps. Time-stamped withdrawals from Grandpa's account. Gasps rippled through the gallery, locals who'd bought the narrative, now chewing on doubt. But that was just the appetizer. The real feast waited in the cross-examination, where I'd make them flip like flapjacks on a griddle. Karen's testimony cracked first, under the fluorescent buzz of the courtroom like a bug zapper waiting for its meal. She perched on the stand, legs crossed at the ankles in a navy skirt suit that screamed, respectable Midwestern matron, but her voice wobbled when my lawyer, Elena Vasquez, a no-nonsense Cuban-American from the Windy City with a stare that could curdle milk, leaned in. Ms. Hargrove, let's talk about the Willow Creek development. You flipped 12 properties in 2018, correct? And the appraisals signed off by your associate, but listing values 30% above market. Karen's lips thinned to a hyphen. That was aggressive pricing. The market was hot. Hot enough for you to pocket $180,000 in unearned commissions. Elena slid the HUD violation report across the projector screen, redacted just enough to sting without spilling state secrets. The gallery murmured, old farmers in Carhartt jackets, housewives with thermoses of gas station coffee, all leaning forward like it was the Bears-Packers game. And when the feds came knocking, Elena pressed. Who took the heat?
Not you.
Aubrey Ellis, your niece, got the anonymous tip to the DA. Didn't she? Probation for aiding and abetting, while you skated with a wrist slap fine. Karen's eyes flicked to me. Pure venom. She volunteered. Families sticks together. I met her gaze from the plaintiff's table, my heart pounding like a bass drum in a garage band. Yeah, Aunt Karen. We do. The words hung, laced with the sarcasm that Elmwood had beaten into me over years of PDA whispers and job rejections. Judge Harlan cleared his throat, but the damage was done. The local Facebook group exploded post-hearing. Wait, Karen's the one who scammed the bank? Elmwood expose. Rick fared worse. He lumbered up, sweat beading under his flannel despite the courtroom's chill. And Elena hit him with the ledger. Digital receipts from DraftKings, Bovada, offshore sites where he'd bled Grandpa dry. $47,000 in losses. Mr. Ellis, funneled through Aubrey's name on the account. Why her?
She.
She knew the passwords, he stammered, but his eyes screamed liar. The cousins, testifying via video from their remote idols, crumbled too, Jenna admitting she'd ignored Grandpa's calls for months, only piping up when the will dropped. We thought Aubrey was handling it. The prosecution, Family side. Pro bono from some cut-rate firm in Peoria, tried to pivot. Undue influence. Aubrey was the sole caregiver. She had access. But Elena dismantled it with logs, my 12-hour shifts. The home health aides I paid out of pocket. The nights I slept on the floor by his bed while they zoomed in for 5-minute visits. By Christmas, the tide turned. Holiday cards arrived laced with apologies, or more hate, depending on the sender. The Gazette ran a follow-up. Inheritance battle takes dark turn. Family's secrets unravel. Karen called me at the house. Voice syrupy over the landline. Aubrey, baby, let's drop this. For Grandpa's memory. We can split it fair, $300K each. Keep it in the family. I cradled the receiver, staring at the Christmas tree we'd half-decorated, tinsel dangling like nooses. Split it like you split the blame for your Ponzi light schemes?
No.
Thanks. See you in court.
Aunt.
She hung up with a curse. But I heard the flip, the desperation. Rick showed next. Uninvited. On New Year's Eve. Pounding snow from his boots on the porch. Come on.
Alstublieft.
I got kids. Grandkids. You win. We all lose. Your kids, I said. Door cracked just enough for the cold to bite. Who call me that crazy aunt on TikTok? Pass. He lingered, pleading, then slunk off into the night. But not before I caught the glint in his eye, the schemer recalibrating. The money sat frozen in probate. But I lived off savings. The house a fortress of faded glory. Nights. I'd pore over old photos. Grandpa in his army greens. Grandma at the county fair with blue ribbon jams. Mama laughing in a sundress before the roads claimed her. Betrayal's weight pressed down. But so did resolve. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclamation. I'd borne their sins, the forged signatures that cost me a scholarship to U of I. The rumors that chased me from every job interview in a 50-mile radius. Unreliable, they'd say. Code for trash.
Now.
I'd make them choke on it. January brought the deposition bombshell. Karen's emails, subpoenaed from her work server, painted her as the architect. Rick, plant the seed with Dad, say Aubrey's troubled. If he cuts her out, we divvy the pot. Attached, spreadsheets divvying hypothetical shares. My name redacted like a curse. Rick flipped then, fully calling Elena's office in a panic, offering testimony for immunity. Karen put me up to it all, he sobbed over speakerphone, voice cracking like thin ice. The gambling, the flips, she covered my ass, then threw Aubrey under the bus to keep her hands clean. The cousins scattered. Jenna posting a tearful Insta story. Families complicated. Learning and growing. Boundaries. Court reconvened mid-February. Valentine's Day snowstorm raging outside like divine wrath. The gallery swelled, reporters from the Chicago Tribune sniffing national angle. True crime podcasters with mics like antennae. Karen took the stand again. But this time, Rick sat beside me. His betrayal of her a mirror to mine of him. She orchestrated it, he testified. Voice steady for once. Told me to forge those old checks in Aubrey's name. Said it'd teach the ungrateful bitch a lesson. Karen shrieked. Liar, you're the thief. But the judge banged his gavel. And Elena sealed it with a kill shot. Grandpa's own video will. Recorded on his iPad 6 months prior. Shaky but lucid. If my kin turn on Aubrey, let this be known, she's the daughter I never had. The rest? They've bled me dry. Leave it to her. The courtroom hushed. Karen slumped. mascara rivers on her cheeks. Rick avoided my eyes. The cousin's feed glitched out. And me? I felt the hook twist deeper, not joy, but a hollow vindication, like winning a war that razed your home. But revenge, I learned, is a double-edged blade. As the judge ruled in my favor, full inheritance, sanctions on the contest for frivolous claims, the family fractured further. Karen filed for bankruptcy that week, her license suspended. Rick vanished to parts unknown. Rumors of Vegas. The cousins sent fruit baskets with notes. Proud of you, cuz. But trust? Shattered like the Victorians' cracked foundation. I sold the house in March. The $1.2 million swelling to $1.50 with market uptick. Enough for a fresh start. Packed the Chevy. Headed west toward Denver, where the Rockies promised anonymity. But on the drive, radio crackling with some alt-country lament about blood ties. Doubt crept in. Had I gone too far? Exposed them to the wolves of public scorn. Job loss. Divorce filings in Karen's case? Grandpa's words echoed. Fight dirty. But was dirty the same as right? The first twist hit in a roadside motel outside St. Louis. Burner phone buzzing with an unknown number. Rick's voice. Slurred. Aubrey, you gotta help.
Karen.
She knows about the accident. Mama's wreck. It wasn't ice. My blood froze. Mama's death. Black ice on ice 74.
They'd said.
But Rick whispered the secret I'd half suspected. The one Grandpa swore to bury. Karen was driving. Swerved to miss a deer. But she was texting her lover.
Panicked.
Switched seats. Blamed the weather. The betrayal deepened. A chasm. I'd borne that too, not legally, but in the family's gaslighting. The accidental narrative that kept Karen sainted.
Now.
With the money mine, the power to unmake her utterly. But wield it, or let the dead lie. The road stretched. Decisions looming like thunderheads. The motel room smelled of stale smoke and regret. The kind that clings to polyester bedspreads in flyover states. Rick's call ended with a plea. Meet me in Springfield.
Alstublieft.
Before she lawyered up again. And I lay there, ceiling fan whirring like a deranged metronome, piecing together the shards of Mama's ghost. I'd always known something festered under the official report, the way Karen averted her eyes at the funeral, the hushed arguments I'd overheard as a kid, mistaking them for adult nonsense. It was an accident, Grandpa had growled once, shutting me down. Leave it, Aubrey.
Now.
With $1.5 million in the bank and a clean title on the Chevy, I had leverage, the kind that could bury Karen deeper than her McMansion mortgage. Springfield was only 2 hours west, a detour that felt like fate's crooked finger beckoning. I tossed the burner, untraceable, bought at a Walmart in Effingham, and hit the road at dawn. Wipers slapping away April drizzle. NPR droning about some political scandal that paled next to my own. Rick waited in a Denny's off the interstate, nursing black coffee in a booth scarred by initials and heartbreak. He looked smaller, deflated, the weasel gut sagging over his belt like surrendered territory. Thanks for coming, he muttered, not meeting my eyes. Didn't think you would. Family sticks together, right? I slid into the vinyl, ordering eggs over easy-to-buy time. The waitress, a tired soul with a name tag reading barb, poured refills without a word, small-town radar pinging our attention. He spilled it halting. That night in '05, Karen behind the wheel of Mama's old Taurus, en route from a realtor mixer in Peoria. buzzed on Chardonnay, thumbing text to her affair partner, a married developer with a boat and a comb-over. Deer bolted from the median. She swerved. Overcorrected. Hydroplaned into the guardrail.
Mama.
Passenger seat. Took the brunt. Ejected on impact. DOA at the ER. Karen called me from the wreck. Rick said. Voice low.
Sobbing.
Rick.
Help.
I can't. The texts. It'll ruin me. So he did what family does. Drove out. Switched her to passenger. Staged the scene. Cops bought the ice story, routine in Illinois winters, and Karen walked. Inheriting Mama's life insurance as next of kin, $250,000 that vanished into her flips and facelifts. I'd borne the periphery, the grief that turned Karen into the martyr aunt, shuttling me to therapy while she played victim at every church potluck. Grandpa covered the hush money, dipping into the nest egg, his silence a chain around my neck. Protect the living, he'd said. But Mama wasn't living. She was erased. Her memory a prop in their theater of lies. Why tell me now? I asked, fork spearing yolk like an eye. Rick shrugged. Miserable. Karen's cornered. After the ruling, she's broke. Bitter. Threatened to pin the whole estate mess on me, say I coerced Dad too. Figured.
Tit for tat.
You expose her on the accident. She goes down for vehicular manslaughter. Reckless endangerment. Felony time. And you. I pressed. Immunity for perjury? Obstruction. His nod was sheepish. Yeah. Clean slate. Betrayal's echo chamber. Rick flipping on Karen to save his skin. Just as he'd flipped on me years back. I left him with the check, literal and figurative, driving into the Ozarks with a secret gnawing like roadkill under tires. Denver beckoned. A one-bedroom with mountain views. A job in graphic design I'd lined up via LinkedIn. Fresh start. They call it. But ghosts don't fade. They hitch rides. Back home, or what was left of it, I'd stored boxes in a U-Haul unit outside Elmwood. Labeled Mama's things. I detoured there. Chain link fence rattling in the wind. And rifled through. Report cards. A locket with my baby photo. The accident file Grandpa had squirreled away. Photos of the wreck. Taurus accordioned against steel. And tucked in the glove box copy, Karen's phone records. Subpoenaed but buried. Showing outgoing text at 10:47 p.m., minutes before impact. The evidence was there. Moldering. A time bomb with my finger on the fuse. I could have mailed it to the DA anonymously. Watched Karen's world implode from afar. But revenge whispered closer. Confront her. Make her beg. Force the flip that'd split her soul. She called a week later. From a block number. Voice a razor wrapped in velvet. Aubrey, we need to talk. About your mother. We met in a park outside Bloomington. Neutral ground. Picnic tables scarred by Sharpie hearts under a sky bruised with thunderheads. Karen arrived in yoga pants and a North Face fleece. Trying for relatable, but her eyes were feral. Makeup caked over sleepless hollows. Rick's been talking, she said. No preamble. Sliding a thermos across the table, chamomile. Her signature peace offering. That snake.
But you.
You hold the cards now.
Don't you?
I sipped, bitter as truth. Cards? Or bodies? Mama's. Specifically. Her flinch was genuine. A crack in the facade. It was an accident.
God.
Aubrey, I loved your mother. She was my baby sister. Tears welled. But I saw the calculation, the flip to vulnerability. The aunt who'd raised me. If it comes out, I'm done.
Prison.
The kids, your cousins, they'd hate me.
Please.
Name your price. $1.2 million was the price for Grandpa, I said flatly. For Mama? Your confession.
Public.
Full board. She recoiled. You destroy us? For what, closure? You're as bad as they say.
Aubrey.
Heartless. The accusation landed. Controversial as a lit match in dry grass. Was I? Exposing her meant dragging Mama's name through headlines again. Cold case crash. Aunt's deadly secret. Tabloid fodder for Dateline episodes. The family would splinter further. Cousins choosing sides in a feud that'd echo through reunions and Reddit threads. Team Karen versus Justice Robbery. Endless debate. Was vehicular manslaughter murder by negligence? Or a tragic slip? Did I have the right to unbury the dead for my vendetta? We argued as rain spat down. Umbrellas forgotten. She flipped from supplicant to siren. Think of the money. I can get investors, real estate comeback. We partner. You and me. Girls Club. Then to Serpent. Do it. And I'll tell the world about your phase. The boys. The pills. Ruin you like you ruined us. Empty threats. The will was ironclad. My name cleared. But the tension coiled. Dark and electric. The park emptying as storm sirens wailed in the distance. I stood. Thermos abandoned. Confess.
Karen.
Or I will. She lunged then, not violent, but grasping. Nails digging into my wrist. Don't.
Please.
For family. I wrenched free. Heart hammering. Family? That's the lie that killed Mama. Driving away. Rear view swallowing her silhouette. I felt the the American underbelly of blood ties twisted into nooses. Denver waited. But so did decision. The climax brewed over weeks. Me holed up in a sublet outside KC. Job starting remote. Sketching logos for craft breweries while doom-scrolling the fallout. Karen lawyered up. Filing a civil suit for emotional distress from the inheritance war. Laughable. But it dragged my name back into the mud. Rick surfaced in AA meetings, spilling to a podcaster. Aubrey's got the goods on the crash. Deserves justice. The internet cleaved, forums lit with Aubrey's a hero, exposing family fraud, countered by vindictive witch, let sleeping dogs lie. I chose the park again for the showdown. May blooming riotous around us. Dogwoods like bloody punctuation. This time, she brought a recorder, sly, but I had one too. Last chance, I said, voice steady as the Mississippi's flow. Confess. On tape. Or it all goes public, DA.
Press.
The works. Karen paced. Flipping like a politician in a scandal. Denial. It was ice. To bargain. 50-50 on the estate remainder? To rage. You owe me. I raised you. Finally. Crumble. Sobs. The truth tumbling out in fragments. I was texting. Scared. Switch seats. Rick helped. God. Forgive me. The tape rolled. Her words a noose self-tied. But as she broke, something in me, this woman, flawed as sin, had bandaged my scraped knees, baked cookies for school fairs. Was destruction mercy? Or just my mirror of their greed? I stopped the recording, deleted it on the spot. Go, I said. Start over. But leave me out. Her eyes widened shock, relief, suspicion. Why? Because winning shouldn't taste like ash. But as I walked away, the real controversial call hit. Mercy as manipulation or growth? The family debated it in group chats I muted, Rick calling me saint. Cousins split on soft versus strategic. Denver's skyline rose welcoming. But the twist loomed. A shadow on the plateau. Denver hit like a cold front off the Front Range, crisp air laced with weed smoke and ambition. A far cry from Elmwood's flatline of familiarity. I leased a studio in Low-High, exposed brick and mountain views that mocked my internal churn, and dove into work, freelance gigs morphing into full-time at a boutique agency, designing labels for IPAs that promised bold revenge in hoppy notes. Ironic.
That.
The money bought freedom, a used Subaru, therapy sessions with a no-bullshit shrink named Carla who unpacked betrayal like a suitcase of bricks. But peace? Elusive as a clear sky in monsoon season. Karen's confession tape was ash in my delete bin, but echoes lingered. She vanished from socials. Rumors swirling. Relocated to Florida. Flipping condos under a maiden name. Or holed up in a halfway house for grief counseling. Rick pinged sporadically, sobriety check-ins. Half apologies. Proud of you.
Kid.
Clean 6 months. The cousins? A mixed bag. Jenna sent a care package of artisanal soaps for new beginnings, while her brother ghosted, posting yacht pics with captions about toxic ties. I told myself it was over. The revenge arc arced to a close. Grandpa's voice faded to a murmur. Mama's locket around my neck a talisman. Not a chain. Dates flickered, hikers with beards and microbrews. A barista with tattoos mapping constellations, but intimacy felt like quicksand. Trust a foreign dialect. Then the twist landed in July. Heat wave baking the asphalt. A FedEx envelope thudding onto my doormat. No return address. But the script screamed Karen. Loopy ease. The stationery from her old realty firm. Inside, a check for $250,000, Mama's life insurance. Laundered through years of investments, and a letter. Pages thick as a confessional. Aubrey, it began. Ink smudged like tears. I write this from the ashes you spared me. Florida's a scam, humidity and hurricanes, but it's penance. The money's yours, it was always hers. And the truth? One more layer. She confessed the unconfessable. Grandpa's role in the cover-up wasn't protection, it was complicity. He'd known about her affair, hell. Encouraged it. A twisted affair of his own with Karen's mother. A wartime fling that birthed unspoken scandals. Your grandparents weren't saints, she wrote. The nest egg? Half from settlements. Hush money for indiscretions that would have shattered the farm.
The town.
You bore the scapegoat role because you were young. Disposable. I followed suit. Too weak to break the cycle. The bomb. Mama's death? Not just negligence. Karen's text that night? To Grandpa. Arranging a meetup, not with a lover. But him. Dad. We need to end this, it'd read. The crash. The switch. It buried not just the swerve, but decades of incestuous whispers. Family rot at the core. I read it in the tub. Water cooling to ice. Nausea rising like bile.
Grandpa.
My rock. The man I'd avenged tainted? The betrayal retrofitted. Rewriting my origin as a pawn in their generational Game of Thrones. Controversial didn't cover it. Was he victim or villain? Had I inherited poison? Or purified it by surviving? The check sat uncashed. A hot coal. Cash it. And I endorsed the lie. Burn it. And freedom's price spiked. Carla called it the final flip, family's last gasp. Forcing me to choose. Expose the patriarch. Torch the myth. Invite endless debate, heroic truth-teller or grave robber of legacies. Or seal it, live with the gray. I chose the road again. Subaru eating miles toward the Badlands. South Dakota's scarred earth a mirror to my soul. There, under a sky vast as regret, I burned the letter in a fire pit at some roadside KOA. Flames devouring ink while coyotes yipped judgment. The check? Mailed to a scholarship fund in Mama's name, Elmwood High kids from broken homes. No strings but rise above. Back in Denver. Autumn gilded the aspens. And I dated steady, a teacher named Miles. With laugh lines and a vinyl collection that spun Springsteen like therapy. The family? Fractured fairy tale. Karen sent postcards from Key West. Cryptic, healing. Thanks. Rick relapsed. Then rebounded. Calling me the strong one. Cousins converged for a tentative Thanksgiving Zoom. Toasts to complicated love. Was it happy? Not Hallmark, more like a Coen Brothers coda. Tension underscoring the thaw. I'd won the estate. The secrets. But lost the illusion of clean lines. Readers, if this tale hit podcasts or Substack, would split. Aubrey's mercy was weak. Versus Revenge's true end is release. No one's fully right. No villain pure evil, just Americans grinding through the machine, flipping scripts till the credits roll. Grandpa's last words replayed. Not as command, but question. Fight dirty.
Nah.
I'd fought smart, survived the betrayals, unearthed the bones, and walked away wholish. In the mirror, eyes like chipped flint stared back, smiling faint. The hook released, the story, mine to rewrite.